BF lies about being on my Reddit account. Anytime I, 25 female, fall asleep my boyfriend, 28 male, is all over my phone. I usually wake up and find that he's watching porn on my phone, which is only upsetting because it's been getting in the way of us having sex. He claims I don't want to have sex, but last night was a perfect example. He asked if he could have me and I told him after he's done playing his games and comes to bed, as it was already 3 a.m. He got off an hour later and we were cuddling. After a bit of that he let go and rolled over saying his side hurt, so I cuddled up to him, and that was that. He wasn't even facing me anymore and told me he was uncomfortable. I fell asleep and woke up to him using my Reddit to look at girls and watch porn. I went through the history and found everything he was looking at. He said that he didn't even look at any of the naked girls in the Reddit history, which was weird because this was the first I was seeing of them. He said that it must have been me and I just forgot. As I kept scrolling there was more and more. All of it he claims was me. I'm so furious, but he's already passed out asleep. IDK what to do in this situation. He thinks I'm over-exaggerating but I feel like he's doing this on purpose. Why is he using your phone and not his own? If the porn use is interfering with sex life, it needs to be discussed. But if you're brining it up to him and he's gaslighting you about it, then you guys have bigger problems. What the fuck are you doing letting him use your phone if he keeps doing this shit? He's a twat. Stop pandering to his twattiness. Is this a recurring behavior where he doesn't have sex with you but consumes a lot of pornography? Jesus. I am exhausted reading all this. Simply this. Why does he still exist in your world? That was a rhetorical question. He should not. What are you doing with someone who treats you like this? Do you realize every single comment you've made is about him being a garbage person and it makes no sense that you're allowing him to treat you this way? I mean, what would you think if someone told you, my boyfriend completely sucks in a million different ways and my reaction is to pay his bills and let him do whatever he wants? That's you. I don't know how to interpret or deal with boyfriend's comments about my weight. Using a throwaway because he knows my real account. I, F26, have been with my boyfriend, M30, for 5 years. In the beginning of our relationship I was slightly underweight. He didn't really mind this, as he expressed once that he'd rather have a girlfriend that is a bit too skinny than a bit too heavy. Just a preference I guess. He said that ideally someone should have a normal weight. I was never actively busy with my weight. He did make comments in the past like how it was important for us both to stay as we are because we were both in a good spot weight-wise. I never really focused on it so much as he does. He weighs himself once a week and I do once every 6 months if I don't forget. I got some health issues last year and my doctor referred me to a sports doctor. Sorry for lack of a better word. English is not my first language. And he ran a lot of tests to see how fit I was. One part included calculating my fat percentage and weight, BMI. I am 173 centimeters, 5 feet 7 give or take, and weigh 64 kilograms, 141 pounds, with a fat percentage of 26. When I got home he was very eager to know how it went and we had a good conversation about it. He was really supportive as he always is. Then he asked, "So what about your fat percentage and weight and stuff, did they look at that?" I told him how much I weigh etc. He seemed surprised and said, "Wow, I never thought you were heavier than 60 kilograms. That is more than I expected." I just shrugged and said yeah I changed I guess but the doctor said I was normal weight-wise and fat percentage-wise. We went back to making dinner and I thought that was the end of it. It was not. A few hours later he brought it up again. He said, "Well you don't plan on getting heavier than 64 right?" I said well no I guess not if I am fine as I am. He agreed and said that he had nothing bad to say about my body but that he thought that 60 would be a good goal. I asked him why, as weight doesn't always say that much. He said he thought it would be normal for me to be around 10 kilograms less than him. I said I really didn't care about the number. He nodded and we went back to our usual activities. The next day he said, "So like did they weigh you with clothes on because that could explain it?" I was honestly a little annoyed at him for bringing it up again but still answered his question. He then asked me if I was going to weigh myself once a week just to keep track. I don't know how to feel about these comments. When I straight up asked him again why he was so focused on this number he just said that he didn't know and was surprised but didn't care too much. I am not convinced because he keeps bringing it up. It is just a little weird to me. Today he brought it up again and I am not sure how to approach this issue as I don't care about my weight at the moment as long as it is fine. It sounds like he has some issues with his body and his weight and he's projecting onto you. Because you are definitely healthy and your right weight doesn't say that much. As long as you are not at risk for obesity or being underweight and you feel good about yourself, it's all fine. It also doesn't seem like he's not attracted to how you look, it's really an obsession with the numbers. I can't tell you why he has that issue, but you should talk to him that he should stop obsessing over your parameters. Being supportive of your health is appreciated, but this is going in an unhealthy direction. His hang-ups on numbers seem very disordered. He needs help getting out of that mindset, by a therapist, not you. He says he doesn't care, but he's brought it up more than once, which says the opposite. Set a boundary for discussions about weight. He can't talk about yours, just worry about his own. I still think he needs therapy for that disordered mindset, even just in regards to himself. Jesus Christ, I'd rather be single than ever put up with a man like that. Deal with it by saying, I think this is over. He's a disrespectful child who views you as an object. You deserve better. Oh boy. Wait till he finds out what pregnancy does to a body if you ever decide to have kids. But aside from that, I personally find it an unhealthy obsession on your or his own weight for that matter. I've been together with my then-girlfriend, now wife, for a total of 17 years. In those years both of our bodies have changed, up and down on the weight scale. What's important is that you are happy and confident in your body and healthy, of course. And your partner should instill that sense of confidence onto you about your body, in my opinion. I'm in love with my wife as a person, not her body. Of course, if she all of a sudden becomes morbidly obese all of a sudden, yeah, there's gonna be a talk, of course. Hi. To me it sounds like your boyfriend's has some type of weight obsession or complex, especially since you said he weighs himself once a week. It might be something he learned or was brought up in, but it also sounds like he's projecting it onto you and making you feel bad. My advice would be to work through and have a thorough conversation about it. Maybe with a doctor, therapist if you think that's needed. If it continues, it might affect you and how you look at yourself, which isn't a good thing. It still sounds like he loves you and cares for your health, but he just needs to show that in a different way. Me, 31M, got a vasectomy when I was 24 and now my FWB, 29F, is pregnant. I, 31M, got a vasectomy years ago when I was 23, but the procedure must have failed because my FWB, 29F, told me a couple weeks ago she was pregnant. She told me it only could be mine. I was skeptical at first, but I got my sperm count checked and lo and behold I had swimmers. I do still plan to get a paternity test if she decides to have it. It would be silly not to verify that even if I do trust her. Parenthood has always been my worst fear, which is why I got the vasectomy in the first place. I know myself and I know the role of a caregiver makes me absolutely miserable. My career doesn't give me a lot of financial flexibility. I do freelance audio, visual work, so I can't afford to have this child. I don't have the time, energy, or desire to raise it. I'd almost certainly have to switch careers to something more stable, which I really don't want to do after years of hard work building a sufficient enough client base to support myself on my passion alone. I've explained this to both my FWB and my family, both of which are trying to encourage me to make the most of it and raise this child. I'm currently looking into options for suing the urologist who performed the vasectomy for child support in the event my FWB decides to keep the child. I don't want to influence her decision, but I have made it clear that I have no interest in taking part in raising this child if she chooses to keep it. I'll do whatever is legally required of me, but I feel as I've done everything I can to prevent this situation that I have no responsibility to continue to be a part of it. My parents have offered to help raise my unborn child and help with the financial aspects, but this is just as much about the time and emotional commitment. I think it'd be better for me to be completely absent from the child's life, than for the kid to experience my disinterest in being their parent firsthand. As harsh as it sounds, being a father to this child would ruin my life. I struggle with major depressive disorder and have spent a lot of my life feeling like being alive wasn't worth it. The more control over my life, the easier that is to cope with. I'm spiraling for the first time in half a decade and my every waking moment is plagued with anxiety and dread. Honestly, I've been thinking about hurting myself, or at the very least moving out of state and starting over. This was mostly just a rant, venting as I feel my sense of control crashing down around me. Any advice welcome. If I'm being a bastard, you can let me know that too. Pretty unlikely you're going to get anything from suing. When you get a vasectomy, they usually have you sign an acknowledgement that there is a chance it could reverse itself. It's just something the body does. Same things when you get your tubes tied. I knew a mom who ended up pregnant at 49 after her tubes have been tied since she was 38. Seek support from family or professionals if you are feeling suicidal. Besides that, I don't think you are wrong for feeling this way after getting a vasectomy. I would follow the advice of your lawyers and choose which of the options they present are best for you. Be clear now to your FWB family the extent to which you will be involved in your child's life. There's not much more to say, unfortunately. Sometimes bad things can happen in your life through no fault of your own. They typically recommend you get your sperm count tested shortly after the procedure as well as a year later, since it's not 100% effective. So not sure what you're trying to get out of suing the urologist for consequences I'm sure they told you of before and after the procedure. As for being a parent, get the paternity test and go from there. If the baby is yours and you don't want to participate, that's up to you, but you will be financially responsible with child support etc. So maybe at least think about your parents' offer. You plan to sue the doctor? That's stupid and it won't work. You're supposed to get your count checked every few years. If you didn't do your follow-up appointments you won't win anything. 1. Go with what your lawyer says suing people. 2. You don't have to have the child in your life in any social capacity, but you will have to pay child support if the paternity test comes back to you. You need to sit down with your FWB and express in no uncertain terms what your involvement level will be through the whole process while she still has options. This sucks, best of luck. Fiancé's friend still refuses to meet me after 2.5 years? Update. This is an update post to my original post, link below. My fiancé and I had several lengthy discussions over the course of the day regarding this issue. He read over the entirety of my original Reddit post this morning, and we visited some good friends this afternoon who had met both his ex as well as myself. My fiancé began to recognize several red flags in he and his ex's friendship over the course of the morning, which were also, I think, supported by our friends' opinions. We had a long healthy discussion with our friends about where we were both wrong on this and other issues, which gave us a healthy perspective moving forward. Our compromise was to ask my fiancé's ex-friend whether or not she would simply text with me, or call me for a 5-minute conversation so I could meet her, as this was important to both of us, since I wanted to meet all of my fiancé's good friends before we got married and she refused. She also became extremely nasty in response to the question, immediately demanding to know my motivations for wanting to meet with her despite it being an extremely friendly and already explained motivation behind the request. She also accused me of being jealous, and began attempting to manipulate my fiancé emotionally in her replies. By this evening when all this occurred, it was obvious to my fiancé and I that on some level his ex felt threatened by me, and I am under the impression that this is because their relationship remained largely the same after they broke up. With her being asexual, she was perfectly content to continue messaging him as friends from the moment they broke up, although after he met me he said their messages became a lot less frequent. He had told me today, with the exception of yesterday, the last time they had texted with each other was 2 weeks before. But apparently, this was often enough to suit her fine. What I believe has occurred is that this woman has been using my fiancé as an emotional relationship substitute on some level for the past several years, either consciously or unconsciously. However, it's difficult to prove a motive for a woman I've never met. This is just the logical conclusion that I've drawn, given what I and others know. Either way, my fiancé has blocked her and notified her their friendship could not continue. I am heartbroken for my fiancé because the very last thing I wanted him to do was lose a friend, but it was apparent that his ex expected more and would not respect he and I's relationship, so we both understand that this had to be done. Some final notes. 1. My fiancé understands that this could technically be considered an emotional affair. He had told her some personal information regarding our relationship since we started dating that she tried to use against him during their argument, but it is apparent that when he shared this, albeit old, information, he believed he was confiding in a friend. We have had a conversation since about the importance of never airing out your dirty laundry except to a very, very close friend, since the alternative invites snakes in. 2. My fiancé was not intentionally cheating on me. We are talking about a man who has few friends due to his autism, and tends to trust too easily and love others hard. He has lived a life of such desperate loneliness many could not comprehend. His life has been filled with people who dismissed him, ignored him, or got angry at him for rambling or being weird. When he finds a friend, he is eager to defend and turn a blind eye, and he's often taken advantage of. I did not think twice about him defending her so vehemently, but at the time it hurt me deeply. 3. At this point, I'm mostly angry at his ex. She has taken advantage of him in the worst way, and by extension he has hurt me in the process. This is a man who follows me around like a lost puppy, who can't bear for me to be angry or hurt and has to try to solve the problem whether I'm ready to or not so I'll be okay again, who mumbles, "I love you," in his sleep every time I shift in the bed at night. Him cheating on me was never a possibility I considered, and even after all of this I stand by that. If anything, I'm concerned at how he is going to take it in the morning, when the full reality of what has happened hits him. Right now he still seems confused and shocked. But, we will get through our tomorrows together. Thank you all for your comments and insight. Reddit. Original post. You both did the right thing. Great stuff. The ex-friend sounds like a lot of work. This seems like the best possible outcome, even though he lost a friend in the process. Hoping the best for you guys. Really happy I was very wrong about your partner. However, that ex-friend does not sound like a nice person. You should not feel too bad about it. I went through the same thing. My current partner cutting off completely a friend of over a decade for something that I at the time felt it was my fault. I felt awful for a long time. I still do to some degree, but eventually I had to realize that my partner cut them off not for me or who I was or did, aka date them, but rather because the friendship had become toxic. Well, my partner is adamant it was always bad, but IDK. I hope just like in my situation that he makes new better friends and finds new ways to have even more fun with the few that he has. I don't know, but I don't feel like your fiancé was cheating on you at all. He clearly didn't understand, and it seems like you've convinced him that he was doing something wrong when he wasn't, she was. I don't know if you've forgotten, but friends talk about their relationships with one another. The fact that he's talked to her as friend about stuff isn't bad at all. It's really weird to me that you've tried to pin him on this whole emotional affair thing. She clearly had some unhealthy attachment that he didn't realize she had. There wasn't one redeeming quality about his ex. This needed to happen, and it was an unhealthy relationship. No need to feel heartbroken for your fiancé. In the end, the ex showed who she really was. An emotionally manipulative toxic human being. Good riddance to bad rubbish. Bye Felicia.